Hey, 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 love and light to each and every one of you guys. Welcome to the Dope Black Chick Podcast, your audio guide to releasing your dopeness. Hey guys, welcome to this episode of the Dope Black Chick Podcast. And today is an amazing show. I say that about every show, but today is an amazing episode because we're talking about one of those taboo things that I love to talk about all the time. I encourage people constantly to talk about their cycles. I have named mine Ruby, and Ruby will be here very shortly. So, I encourage women to embrace that natural part of who we are and our existence. So the other day on Facebook, I posted about the fact that we don't also discuss how the hormones and affect our mental health during that period. Because for me, I know I can have surging hormones in that time frame. A few years back, it was much worse than it is now because I've learned how to regulate and to take better care of my body. But when I do have those situations, like mental health is always going to be something that I'm dealing with, but the depression and the highs and the lows during that time are real. And a lot of women do not, because we're not paying attention or acknowledging that this is related to our cycle. Sometimes you can just beat up on yourself for no reason and not even really know why you're doing it. So we had that conversation on Facebook, and my friend Nikki decided to comment, and I was like, oh yeah, you dropping gems. So I wanted her to drop those gems to my audience on the Dope Black Chick Podcast. So I want to introduce to the audience my guest for today, Miss Nikki Bell. So Nikki, tell everybody about who you are and what you do real quick.
Sure. Hey everybody. I am first of all, by daytime, I say a personal chef. Then at night, I've transitioned to being, I guess right now I'm calling myself a modern medicine woman.
Yes.
Where I'm really...
I like that, the modern medicine woman. I like it.
Where I am really helping women to restore their vitality with learning more about their health and their diet, putting them on herbal regimens. So just really getting to know who you are, how your body functions, and then what's taking the best protocol for it. Because, of course, we'll get into it in the conversation, but your period should not hurt. You should not be moody. You should be able to still go to work and carry on your regular activities if you choose to. So, just really changing the dynamic around your period and how you relate to your body. So that is all what I'm about. Period positivity.
Period positivity. I love it. And so, yes, let's go ahead and jump into it because you're right. A couple of people commented and said, hey, you're not supposed to be having these issues, which is true if you're taking proper care of your body.
Yes.
Which, when I said normal, the normal average person is not taking care of their body the way that we should, because we've never been taught to take care of our bodies the way that we should. So let's first talk about, like you said, the things that should not be happening during.
Okay. Well, before we even get into that bit, let's talk for like 60 seconds about what your period is. Because a lot of women really don't even know what is happening on a day-to-day basis in their body from day one. Like they don't know that day one of your cycle is the day you start to bleed. That's day one. Mm-hmm. So the menstrual cycle really is a part of the endocrine system. I'll try not to get to science based here, but it's the shedding of the lining of the uterus.
Yes.
So if the egg has not been fertilized, all of that lining of the uterus builds up and then it sheds every month. And then we have the menstrual cycle. Day 1 of your cycle is when you start to bleed.
Mm-hmm.
The day before you bleed again in the following month, that's when your cycle ends.
Mm-hmm.
So it's from day 1 to the day before. And that average cycle should be 25 to 35 days. If you are bleeding before that or longer than that, personally, I say if you go past 30 days, you're getting into some hormonal imbalances.
Mm-hmm.
So, with the key cycle being 28 days, and that's being in sync with the moon, which is why oftentimes the menstrual cycle is referred to as the moon cycle and so forth.
See, hold on. Wait. Wait, you give them, wait, listen. I so agree with you, and I am here with you, but there are a lot of people who do not understand that the moon and our cycles are connected. Can you break that down real quick? Because it really is.
Yes. Well, it's called the moon cycle, or the whole thing of with the moon is that because every 28 days we do get a new moon, which is when you should bleed. So let's say go back to tribal times when we slept underneath the sun and the stars and everything like that. The moon helped to regulate our cycle, which is why it would come every 28 days.
And most of the time it comes at night.
Yes, it will come at night. Yes. But when we, modern society, we started to move in, sleeping in homes and beds and having a bunch of artificial light connected to us, that really changed the way that our cycle is. I have, on the other hand, worked very hard to get my cycle to 28 days. Like, that was a goal of mine for years. Like, we gonna bleed with the moon. Like, we're gonna be in sync with that. So, being mindful of that time frame, like, am my period coming too early? Is it coming too late? And then it should always be bright red. It shouldn't be dark brown, black, or, looking like you have chocolate mocha in your panties.
Yeah.
No, it really should be a bright red. And then also, if it's heavy, we all know that having a heavy cycle is not a healthy cycle. And we're going to refer to throughout this talk healthy versus normal. Because if you go to your medical doctor, they will tell you you're bleeding heavy. That's normal. But that normal is based on the abnormality of all of the other women.
Facts.
So, that's why we were going to say healthy versus normal. Because I had a friend that was saying, I bleed so heavy, I have to choose all these tampons, all these pads. And my doctor said that's normal. And I'm like, boo, get you a new doctor. Because that is not normal. And if any doctor is telling you, oh, you should bleed in 7 days, that's normal. That's not normal. That's not healthy. Your period should be 3 to 5 days. 5 days max. 7 is pushing it, if you've got some hormonal imbalance. But I say get yourself in that 3 to 5 window with a change of diet, so forth. But we'll get a little bit into that. I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself.
Doing good, girl, because this is everything. Because let me give you guys some background on me as far as it comes to, I don't know, my fascination with my menstrual cycle, but I got my cycle at 11 or I started my cycle at 11. And I just always used to read biology books. And so I studied everything about the uterus and how it operates and all the things to expect. So I kind of taught myself because, again, nobody told me anything about your cycle. My mom was not talking about cycles. We were not having that conversation. And I have 2 other sisters. They didn't know. They just telling me the best that they know. So I'm going through books and trying to learn this stuff. So the science of it was so spectacular to me that I just thought it was amazing. And that is where my whole love of knowing myself and knowing how my body works kind of started. And I just really am fascinated by this cycle that we have. And I'm a 28-day girl. I have been a 28-day girl since I started. since 11 years old. I've been 28 days exactly.
That's good.
Yeah. And so when I recently in 2016, when I had a pulmonary embolism, I was put on some pills, and it really messed me up. Like, my cycle was so heavy. The period was so heavy. And literally I was changing every hour.
Wow.
So the doctor was like, oh, well, you're on a blood thinner. And I'm like, that still should not, that has nothing to do with this. Like, it shouldn't be this heavy. So, of course, I had high blood pressure in response to the pulmonary embolism. And there were a lot of other things that were going on with me. And I just really started talking to my body and saying, okay, you're trying to get my attention. What is it that you need me to do? And so I started making changes. And those changes took me off of the blood pressure pills. I ended up getting off of those. I was off of the Xarelto. All of the meds I got off within less than a year.
That's
and
good.
Immediately, Ruby changed. Everything changed. The hormones, my up and down state was so different. It went back to seemingly normal, and I'm going to say seemingly normal, but it did go back to normal, and the bleeding ceased. It tapered off, and I wasn't experiencing such heavy flow days anymore. So, and the reason that I say seemingly normal is because, like you said, this state that we call normal is a lot of the things that we're doing to our bodies is still not good. Some of the foods that I eat, that's not good. It's a lot of things. I don't even exercise like I should. I don't pay attention to my body the way that I should. So for me, the normal was, oh, you're going to have these mood swings. You're going to have some cramping, but it's not going to be terrible cramping where you have to go to the hospital. It's going to be, the cramping that you can get through. You know what I'm saying? So let's talk about the seemingly normal versus healthy.
Okay. So with seemingly normal, especially according to the American Medical Association, AMA is what I'll refer to from here on out, would be a 25 to 35 day cycle, bleeding anywhere from 3 to 7 days. Is technically allowed to be heavy and painful as long as you can resume your normal activities. I think when you can't resume your normal activities, then your doctor's kind of like, oh, okay, well then boom, let's put you on birth control pills.
Yeah.
And all birth control pills do is trick your body into thinking that you're pregnant, and they release artificial hormones to you every single day. It says, hey, she's not pregnant. We don't need to go through this whole hormonal changing of building up the uterus, shedding it, and everything like that. And so what you end result, you do end up getting a lighter period, lighter to non-existing period, but and you feel better. You may not have heavy cramping, you may not have the heavy bleeding, but you haven't corrected the problem, which the problem is the hormonal imbalance. So when you're have estrogen dominance or progesterone is too low, you're going to get the moodiness that comes with your period. You're going to get the cramping, the sore boobs. What else? Some women have hot flashes, cold,
yes, girl, that's
the the munchies.
Everything.
The sugar cravings, salt cravings. What else do women experience? I even hear some women say they have swelling, like hand swelling. Yes. Trouble sleeping at night.
Insomnia.
They can't sleep. So, there's like a laundry list of PMS symptoms that your doctor or medical profession will tell you that these things are normal, and they are not. When your period coming at night, when in sync with the moon, it shouldn't be crampy. You should not have heavy bleeding, even if it's within those first 2 days. You shouldn't change a pad every hour. Your period should not have an odor. It shouldn't smell like roadkill.
Right.
I've even heard that, like, some women will have like maybe this fishy blood scent, or will smell like raw meat.
Yeah.
And those things should not occur at all under any circumstances. You should be able to, if you choose to wear a tampon, changing that every 2 to 3 hours or less. Getting away with a regular tampon, or if you use a menstrual cup, changing that every 4 to 6 hours. Being able to sleep through the night with a menstrual cup and not getting up to change, or if you wear a pad, still being able to change that whenever you go to the bathroom and pee. I remember I got my menstrual cycle when I was 10 and a half, and it was horrible.
Really?
Yes, it was horrible. I would suffer from vomiting and diarrhea. Like on that first day, I would get really bad gastritis.
Yep.
On the first day, like really bad bloating, and my stomach would be full of pain, and it would be so heavy. And this lasted from 10 and a half until maybe when I was 16 to 17. It tapered off, and the doctors would always say, oh, it's normal, you'll be fine, you'll outgrow it, blah, 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 blah. But it wasn't until I was probably about 20 or 21 that it started to regulate, and I got down to like my period would probably end about day 3. And I didn't have the heavy bleeding. Now, what took place differently, I do not know. I don't know what happened. But then I had another change when I turned about 30. My period started to get longer. And I'm like, what is going on? Like, I'm bleeding somewhere between 5 to 7 days. And the doctor is still saying, that's normal, you're fine. But I would get like this intense pain on the first day. I'm talking about like, don't talk to me. I don't want to get out of bed. I don't want to be bothered. It was very, very, very severe.
Right.
But what I did later on find out was that I had 2 small fibroids that were in the back of my uterus that were attributing to the pain that I was having and the excessive amount of bleeding and the long bleeding. So I was like, okay, that was an indicator to me. It's time for change. I'm not being good to my body. There's something that I'm doing that's not right. Normally, the doctor would say, well, oh, your mom, your grandma had fibroids. It's just hereditary. You're fine. As long as they are not too big, you're okay. That's exactly what he said. I even had a doctor tell me, oh, you're just a little fibroid monster.
Wow. I've had that too. They told me that I had, because I had to actually bring it up. Like you said, when I was young and I started my period, I was sick a lot. Same type of things. My mom had to take me out of school so often, to the point where they were like, okay, we're going to have to call DSS on you. Like, she's missing way too many days of school. And she's like, well, she's sick. What can I do? She took me to at least 2 specialists, and they were like, it's in your head. This is normal. This is normal, And as an adult, I went to the doctor and said, okay, I believe I have fibroids. And they were like, well, what makes you think that? I said, well, this just shouldn't be this painful. And they told me, oh, you only have like 2 fibroids the size of grapes. It's okay. There's nothing wrong. That's normal. Yeah.
And that is unfortunately how, one, you will be choked up and put into the normal category. And then you're expected to just manage or handle the pain. You're not giving, because for fibroids, unless they're large and they're like taking over your womb space, there is a disregard for that. But there's nothing normal about having tumors in your body.
Exactly.
Like that, what a fibroid is. It is excessive muscular growth that's hard and nodule, and they're feeding off your life force, because whatever you eat, you feed them. And that's what causes them to grow, which is oftentimes with women who do have fibroids. If you have a semi-decent doctor, they will tell you to let go of the dairy, let go of the meat, try to eat more fiber and more vegetables. You will get that remedy, which is the ultimate remedy for getting rid of fibroids. But I encourage you to not let a doctor tell you that you're heavy bleeding or your pain is normal. Now, I know we've said all of this, like, what is, how do we change this? How, if I'm experiencing these symptoms, what's the protocol for me? What do I do? Because I no longer want to have these experiences. And I would say, unless you're ready to dedicate to a diet change, you probably will continue to have these symptoms throughout the course of your life. And I know, so for some people to say, well, hey, I'm not ready to be a vegan. I'm not ready to be a vegetarian. I love cheese. I can't live without pizza or alcohol and those things. There are some quick tips that you can do to at least maybe get you in a state of being manageable.
Well, get that to us, girl, because I got to have my wine, so I need to know.
I would say that if you aren't ready for a complete diet overhaul, at least 7 to 10 days before your menstrual cycle, cut out your sugar, reduce your salt, cut out alcohol, and no caffeine. No caffeine.
10 days before.
Yes, and get rid of the processed foods. So eat as clean and as pure as you can leading up to your menstrual cycle, leading up to your day 1. And then you will get a great reduction in your symptoms just by just committing to that once a month if you're not ready for the whole diet overhaul. So that's your processed food. So let go of the candies, anything that's coming out of a box. Reduce your salt, let go of the sugar totally. So sugar, reduce salt, and let go of caffeine, because caffeine is really a stimulant. So caffeine is really going to make those menstrual cramps worse. So if you are a heavy coffee drinker, drinking 2-3 cups a day, that's why you got that period pain. Cut it out 7 to 10 days before your menstrual cycle. You'll see such a big difference. And then I also have created an herbal formula called Women's Vitality that contains herbs that are supportive to a menstruating woman. So I'll take away the woman. So even if it's your teen daughter and they are still a child, like 12, 14, 16, and they're having these problems, this herbal formula will work for them because it's going to first balance those hormones. When your progesterone is too low and you have what is referred to as an estrogen dominant body, which leads to fibroids, it leads to endometriosis, which is another painful reproductive disease. You're going to have that pain when your hormones are not balanced. But once you get on at least committing to that 7 to 10 day diet and getting on an herbal regimen, you'll see a big difference with your next cycle. You will. So for those who are saying, well, I'm over this, I want to get rid of those fibroids, I don't want to deal with polycystic ovarian syndrome or any of those other detox. Starting with the detox, I'll be happy to walk anyone through a protocol with what you want to do with starting with the detox, transitioning to a plant-based lifestyle, just so that you can say, don't have to suffer in silence anymore. You don't have to miss those days of work or school. You can still resume those normal activities when you're menstruating, because you should be able to do those things. Your period shouldn't stop your life. You should still be able to be on go mode. And it would be nice if we lived in a society where during that menstruating time, you could take the introspective to really connect. Because in the first few days, if we throw a little spirituality in here, the first couple of days of your menstrual cycle is a very introspective, in tune with nature process that you really can tap in to spirit and God or source or whatever you refer to it, and get some messages. Because in the Native American tribal days and in African tribal days, women were allowed to go and be by themselves,
Yes.
because they know that they were going to receive a message that was going to come back and benefit the whole community. And we've gotten away from the introspective that comes along with the moon cycle. So when you're ready to restore that wellness and health, adding that introspective component to it, to say, what message do I need to receive now during this moon cycle? Take time to reflect. Even if it's just 15 minutes a day when your cycle comes, to meditate or just be in prayer and say, what messages do I need to receive that's going to move forward and change my life? And, and get back to those wise woman days.
Yeah, I feel like for me, since I've named my cycle, and I talk to Ruby like she is my girlfriend, coming to me every 28 days. Like, she is my girl. And so I prepare for her. Like, I say, hey girl, what do you want to do? Like, when I first start feeling like, oh, she's around the corner, I'll say, hey girl, so what do you want to do this weekend? We're going to do Netflix. What movies do you want? I'll pull those movies and we'll just like chill out. Of course, I have the whole, girl, what kind of ice cream you want? And I go stock up. But just having that conversation with her, and even like literally last month, I was feeling some pain, and I knew that the reason that the pain was different from that month, from the previous months, was that I did not take care of my body. And I was eating like lots of meat and just really doing things that I hadn't been doing. So I knew it was going to be painful. So when the pain hit, I just grabbed my abdomen and I was like, Ruby, it's okay. I'm sorry. I didn't do you right. But next month, I promise it's not going to be like this. I'm not going to eat this meat like that. Like, I instead of just having that feeling of I hate this and I hate that I'm going through this, it was more just the appreciation and recognizing, like, you know what, I have to treat myself right. And it reflects every month how I treat myself. That's what I'm getting.
Yes. Yes, it is a true reflection of how you treat yourself. It's also a reflection of your spiritual and your emotional things. Like, I know often as women, we carry a lot of baggage, a lot of trauma, and that baggage and that trauma is stored in our womb area. Mm-hmm. Like, that is where we carry it. So if you are out of touch with your body, if you have stuffed emotions, just heaviness, weight from childhood or from bad relationships, you're going to constantly have a painful period, even if you change your diet. I hear women who even do change their diet. They were like, oh, I went vegan and I did this. It's because that was only a small component of the puzzle. It was only one piece of the puzzle. Right. It requires a full overhaul to tap into those emotions, maybe daily journaling so that things don't build up, seeing a therapist so that you can talk about your bad breakups and bad relationships and childhood trauma and get those things out and release them, so that every month when this cleaning cycle in sync with the moon, you can literally just flow.
Love it.
You can just be in ease. You can just go with when your cycle comes, you should be really just flowing like the river. You should be in a peaceful state, feeling good about yourself, like my body is able to do this and go through this every month. No, I didn't create life, but I have the ability to create life and bring forth life, and just be in sync with that. Because I know with the standard American diet, the average person is not willing to cut out and get rid of those things. Right. So using the tips that I shared before with changing your diet leading up to your period, and then, if you're going to, choose to still be a meat eater, eat the best meat that you can and eat it in moderation. Right. I'm not a one diet fits all type of health and wellness coach and herbalist. I'm not one of those people who says you need to go vegan, you better go vegan. I'm not that. But you got to find what's going to work for your body. And then in the event that you choose to consume meat, eat grass-fed beef, eat pasture-raised pork, eat free-range organic chicken and eat it in moderation. Maybe not with every meal. Maybe not start your day with bacon or sausage. Maybe just have a plant-based breakfast, a smoothie, or, scramble some spinach with your eggs or something like that. And choosing to be that, to have meat in moderation, and then investing in the best meat possible. Because if you live near a Whole Foods, or if you live in a metro city, it's easy to just go in there and grab your meat. But there also now are meat delivering services if you don't live within those areas, where you can have your meat delivered to you. It's a little bit pricier, but I feel like your health is your investment. It's where you're going to get the best return on your investment, so that when you're in your 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, you're not dumping money into medical doctors or the pharmaceutical companies trying to put Band-Aids on issues that you created when you were much younger.
Definitely.
So there is a direct correlation between your diet and having a healthy menstrual cycle, where you bleed for a short period of time, bright red blood that is light and is consistent. So every month you should come. I do want to encourage women to download an app, download a period tracking app.
Yes,
I use Flow. It's
Me too.
I use Flow. It's FLO to track my period. That way you can start to get in sync with it. Like, okay, this was day 1. You can put in when it ended, which is the end of your period. And then you can keep to say, am I at 28 days? Am I at 30 days? You can even track your symptoms. Was my flow heavy? Was it light? Was I moody? You can track all of those. Was I, cussing people out? Or was I having that introspective where I felt like I was in flow and flowing like the river? So, I would say download the app, get rid of your old menstrual products, your Tampax, your all of those off-the-shelf products, because they are chlorinated and they are messing with your hormones. So in the event you don't want to use a menstrual cup that may be too messy for you, or you have a job where cleaning your hands is not optimal, invest in organic feminine products. Amazon will get you right. If you can't go to the store, and I don't know if you share links or something like that, I can send you some links that you can add.
I'll put them in the article.
Yeah, so that people can, start using organic pads or organic tampons that are going to keep you away from the chemicals that will turn around and affect your hormonal balance. So invest in a menstrual cup or organic products.
Let's talk about, before we close, let them know where they can get your herbal mixes and cleanses from.
Yes, so you will be able to go to Teenie Tinctures and Herbs, and Teenie is Teenie, Tinctures, TincturesAndHurbs. So Teenie Tincture and Herbs. That's all across the board: website, social media, Facebook, Instagram. And the formula I talked about today was the Women's Vitality formula.
Yeah.
So that is for women's menstrual health, overall health. So that's going to help with those hormone balancing, regulating your mood. It's even going to give you an increase of libido, because I know particularly with women sometimes over the age of 35, with those unbalanced hormones, that libido is like, babe, I'd rather go to sleep tonight.
Right. I need this. What is it called again?
Women's Vitality.
Women's Vitality. Look, I'm going to have a link, guys, on the show notes. It'll also be in the article notes on the website, where you can get this elixir. I am definitely going to be purchasing this now.
It will come in a tincture form. So with a tincture is an alcohol base that has brewed with herbs for 6 to 8 weeks. So you would take that directly under the tongue, just like a half a drop or full. And that's good for people who don't like to take pills. And then if you're okay with it, you want to avoid the not okay with the alcohol, and you want to avoid that, you're okay with taking pills. It's an herbal compound, so it would come in a capsule. I wish I would have grabbed some so I could show you. So 3 little brown capsules that you would take 3 times, not 3 times a day, 3 every day on an empty stomach, and that will get you right. Some women are dubbing it as like their happy pill, like because it keeps them even keel. They're not bitchy. They're not like, you know, all over the place. They can manage their kids. They can have like just be in flow with their cycle. So I can say hands down of the women that I've had testing this month after month after month, we are very pleased with the results they are getting. Now I'm gonna go ahead and tell you the disclaimer: if you go out here making babies on me, that will not be my fault.
Don't do that to me, Nikki. I don't want no babies, but I do want the vitality. So I thank you for joining us on the show and sharing your knowledge about this issue, because we don't talk about our cycles enough. I think we should talk about them all the time. We should have sister circles and discuss these cycles. But I thank you for joining. And like I said, guys, you will be able to read in the show notes and get those links so you can purchase your Women's Vitality Elixir. And tell again, it's Teeny Tinctures and Herbs, right?
Yes.
On all social media platforms. So make sure you guys check her out and follow. And of course, as always, we want you guys to make sure that you're following the Dope Black Chick as well. And until next time, peace and blessings.